Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Bud Light. Bud Light has caused many layoffs so far, around 360 or so at Anheuser-Busch headquarters of marketing and administrative people, not the people that actually make the beer. Unfortunately, their layoffs are still coming in the next few weeks. They caused the closure of 2 glass plants that made Bud Light bottles, costing about 645 employees, and now 5% of the ad agency that started it all, Captivate, 5% of their employees are being laid off as a result of poor performance. If anyone deserves to lose employees, it's Captivate, the guys that started this mess. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. Really appreciate you guys. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can subscribe, please subscribe. Coming from an exclusive story from the New York Post, ad firm behind Bud Light's Dylan Mulvaney fiasco fires 13 staffers, more than 5% really, of their total employees after a lavish French trip to try to drum up some business. The California marketing firm behind Bud Light's disastrous tie-up with Dylan Mulvaney fired more than a dozen employees days after the top brass boasted about a lavish junket to an award ceremony on the French Riviera. The Post has learned. San Mateo-based Captive 8, which the Post exclusively identified as the ad agency behind Anheuser-Busch's short-lived partnership with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney, flew executives and guests on a private jet to the annual Cannes Lions Festival in June. Now, it's great to show up at these festivals and try to make contacts and generate business. Hey, it's worked for them in the past. There's no reason it can't work for them again. Except, since they probably last went to an event like this, they had a small thing happen like the Dylan Mulvaney disastrous promotion that cost Anheuser-Busch as much as $40 billion in market value and $400 million in sales just in North America alone over the last 3 months. Captivate booked the private charter on a boutique French airline called La Compagnie, which features 76 lay-flat seats and a bespoke plane experience. Bespoke basically means fancy, according to a press release about the trip. Upon returning from the marketing industry's Oscars-like event, CEO Krishna Subramanian offered a recap of their trip during a company-wide Zoom meeting on July 3rd, multiple sources told the Post. The presentation allegedly included photos of the giddy travelers aboard the luxury jet, as well as the yachts, pool parties, and villas they visited in the south of France. Boy, it sounds kind of nice. They're multimillionaires out there, but not the employees that got laid off. 2 days later, however, the tone-deaf Subramanian handed out pink slips to 13 workers, about 5%, more than 5%, really a little over 6% of their more than 200 employees, a Captivate employee told the Post. Quote, they said they were investing in the future of the company and building relationships. One current worker who survived the purge told the Post, adding, maybe they could have saved jobs instead of blowing all this money in cans. Now, it is important to go on industry trips. It's important to be seen. It's important to be seen as successful. That's understandable. But at the same time, it's important to communicate with your employees and let your employees know what's going on. You can't really go on a trip like this and spend obviously millions and millions of dollars on some sort of long shot hope that maybe you're going to grab a client, fake it until you make it, and then turn around and have to lay people off like 2 days later. After the layoffs, Subramanian told remaining staffers on another company-wide Zoom call that the ad agency was examining budgets and evaluating finances according to sources. The timing was terrible, said one fired employee who did not want to be identified out of fear of losing their severance package. Quote, you wouldn't expect to be laid off after such an extravagant trip. If you get more business in cans, then you don't downsize and cut your manpower, added the devastated worker who has young children. That sounds about right. You wouldn't get laid off if you got business when you went out there. However, you got to keep a sense of what's going on with your company. All of these employees that work for Captivate, and I feel bad when anybody gets laid off, people should be able to depend on whoever their employer is. But all of these employees know they were responsible for the Dylan Mulvaney promotion. You have cost Anheuser-Busch as much as $40 billion in market value. It's kind of common sense that the Bud Light brand is not going to return to the success that it used to have. It's lost its #1 position, all because of Captivate's promotion. So if you work for Captivate, you should be worried about a massive lawsuit, not worried about, am I going to be able to keep this job after I go on my fancy trip? Something is not right at this company, and they'll be lucky if they get away without some massive lawsuit. I would have sued them already. It's only because they don't want to associate Dylan Mulvaney with some sort of a disaster at the Anheuser-Busch company level that they've gotten away with not being sued. Because a promotion is a promotion, right? So you could just say, look, Captivate, what did they do? All they did was connect an influencer with Anheuser-Busch. It went badly. The company didn't handle it well at Anheuser-Busch. It's not technically their fault. Well, it is kind of their fault because they are a beer company. Dylan Mulvaney, who's an influencer, they kind of provided, whether they did it knowingly or not, they provided an influencer who serves a lot of young children on their TikTok and other social media connections. It's definitely enough for a civil lawsuit to make complaints and create problems. But it would create problems for both companies, and that's why it probably doesn't happen. The company, which has clients that include McDonald's, Disney, Toyota, Nordstrom, Macy's, and Ocean Spray, said the layoffs represent less than 5% of our employee base. But that's not true. Do the math. It's more than 6%. And that it is actively hiring for a range of roles, probably lower paid sales reps. That's what I would expect. The Captivate rep told the Post the layoffs were carried out after regular performance reviews. Quote, we assess the productivity of our employees with regular cadence, and these layoffs were part of a continuous strategy that ensures our continued success, the spokesperson said. Quote, we want to emphasize that these decisions, which were not made lightly, were driven by a strategic assessment of our team with our business priorities in mind and not by financial challenges. The company said the junket, the trip, was, quote, paid for in tandem with our brand partners and clients, having no impact on the company's overall bottom line. The trip is a, quote, meaningful business development lever for Captivate, a spokesman told the Post. Boy, they're really concerned about giving the Post whatever narrative the Post needs to try to make it not look so bad. Everything is reputation for these guys. Captivate invited influencers, including David Dobrik, Josh Richards, and Robin Del Monte, aka Girl Boss Town, along with the chief marketing officers of a number of companies that work with Captivate, according to insiders and social media posts about the trip. Passengers were showered with swag that included skin and beauty products, electronics, designer sunglasses, and a jeans jacket, along with wine and champagne, according to social media posts about the trip. Captivate has grown into an award-winning firm by pairing social media influencers with major consumer brands, like it allegedly did with Mulvaney, when Mulvaney hoisted a can of Bud Light bearing Mulvaney's image in a post to Instagram on April 1st. The post that started all of this. Bud Light's parent Anheuser-Busch has never identified Captivate in its public comments about the origins of the campaign, blaming an anonymous third-party marketer for sending the personalized hand to Dylan Mulvaney. Captivate has remained tight-lipped about its work for the brewer. The backlash and boycotts since Mulvaney touted Bud Light have cost Anheuser-Busch nearly $400 million in sales in the domestic market in North America, as well as much as $40 billion in market value of their stock, according to the beer giant's quarterly earnings report. The fiasco sent some Captivate employees, quote, into serious panic mode over whether the company would be blamed, insiders had told the Post. A company spokesman declined to address the Bud Light campaign and whether Captivate connected Anheuser-Busch with Mulvaney. Now, the laid-off employee is panicking about whether there's a new job available in a tightening labor market. Quote, I need to keep my head above the water because no one is hiring right now, the former worker said. At least it sounds like they're getting severance packages, so they'll have a little bit of time to go and try and find something. But once you know you've worked for the Dylan Mulvaney promotion company, that's the time to start looking for a new job. And if you're like me and you're wondering, where has Dylan Mulvaney been? What is Dylan Mulvaney actually up to? Okay, well, Dylan Mulvaney was invited to audition for upcoming Broadway revivals of Cabaret, in which, get this, Dylan Mulvaney could be cast as the female lead. Dylan Mulvaney was invited to audition for the upcoming Broadway revival of Cabaret, in which Eddie Redmayne is expected to be cast in the male lead. The trans influencer has a musical theater background, having performed as Elder White in the Book of Mormon before the pandemic and before Dylan Mulvaney's gender transition. According to Page 6, Mulvaney auditioned in front of Broadway producers to play the female lead, Sally Bowles, at the August Wilson Theater in New York City. This is the same Dylan Mulvaney that publicly claimed was afraid to leave Dylan's house because of this new agoraphobia over Bud Light. I'm not so sure I believe Dylan Mulvaney anymore. Something might not quite be right there. Dylan Mulvaney continues to move onward and upward, destroying who knows what in Dylan's path, as the employees of Captivate have to wonder, are they going to be able to keep their job after they've laid off at least 6% of their employees over the Bud Light fiasco? Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.